That one's mine. I think this one's yours.
It's rolling?
It is mine?
I think so, yeah, because I...
Okay. Taste it.
Here.
You'll find out once you taste it.
2.
Yo, welcome to the Solutions Not Tips podcast. Listen, I might change it to the gospel. We've got the one and only Ruben. How you say your last name, man?
You know what? It's, well, okay. In English, I guess some people will pronounce it as Paredes. It's actually Paredes, and the direct translation of Paredes, P-A-R-E-D-E-S, is actually walls. So if you guys have a hard time pronouncing the name Paredes, you can just call me Ruben Walls. So there you go.
Oh, wow, baby, what you know about me? Listen, Ruben, man, look, this is a good friend of mine, and I don't call a lot of people friends. I said friends one time on the phone with my buddy Gooch, and he almost wrecked his car. He said, I know you didn't call that nigga a friend. I'm confused. I don't even like friends. But I'm learning to be a better human being this year, and here we are.
Hey, hey, man, if you want to quote the great Houdini, right? Friends, how many of us have them?
Exactly. Few and far between. So look, how long have you been doing dogs, man?
You know what? I wish I could put an actual number to it, you know? So, I mean, the moment that okay, so if I were to regress in somebody, like if we had a hypnotist here and I could go into a state of hypnosis, I think the very first memory I have is of a black Labrador. And he was in our backyard, and he was trying to get to some chickens because my dad, you know, raised chickens and stuff like that. So, so I wasn't necessarily like, you know, I mean, could have been maybe two to 3 years of age, and that's like the first connection that I remember. You know, that's actually, you know, a biological feeling, and the actual emotion, you know, the emotions that went through it, and like that serotonin dump. And you know that first, like, holy cow, this is like, you know, and I was a baby, I was a kid.
Now, serotonin means it provided a happiness along with relief that you had yet to experience as a kid.
Exactly, and you know, when I regress and I go to that emotional feeling, I know it was a serotonin dump because, you know, serotonin, it gets trapped in between the synapses of your nerves, you know, and, you know, we're born with a certain amount of serotonin, every single human beings.
So you can run out of it?
No, we don't run out of it. Actually, there's they're called SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and these are, you know, a class of drugs that people take when they have depression or this and that. Don't. You know what?
Ruben, man, look, that's why I love this guy. You're like, this dude knows too much, man, but it's so much so that if you were like me, you go down this rabbit hole. You like, I told a buddy one time, right? I'm in the gym and I'm talking to this Negro, and he'll tell you, I'll have him on here one day, and I'm saying everything and he goes, bro, I was taking notes. I'm like, this nigga don't know all this stuff. He said, I went back and looked up Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, how much money? And I'm like, how did he know all this shit? Because either two things happen. Somebody's gassing, aka lying, or they're really about that life. And, you know, years later, we're friends. Ronnie, shout out to Ronnie. We're good friends.
Hey, Ronnie. Shout out to Ronnie.
So what's the number one thing a dog does for you outside of provide happiness, relief, and in some cases therapy?
It's my identity.
Yeah,
he's part of my identity. I don't think there's been that one time that in my life where there was an absence, where that dog wasn't there, I wasn't whole.
Yeah.
I wasn't whole. I mean, it's actually making me choke up as we speak. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it because I can feel that. You know, I can feel that emotion. I'm a very emotional person. And so it you know, when I you know, I know I say this half loosely, you know, people say like, you know, what is your, like, that's a great question, and I tell people, well, dogs saved my life, and it's so cliche, and that's such a, you know, everyone says, oh, my dog's, well, how, you know, was it a Newfoundland that jumped in the river and rescued you? What was it, a Belgian Malinois that somebody was attacking you? And no, they emotionally, you know, and that's something we could probably say for another podcast, because, you know, like when I actually did do the research on it, you know, my teacher, her name is April Hunter. You know, we're talking about it and stuff, and it's, you know, we're talking about like how when I was a kid, you know, I would talk to this dog named Captain. You know, he's a pit bull terrier. I didn't even know he was a pit bull terrier. He was about 5 years old, and so just by talking to that dog, I didn't carry all that emotional distress growing up. You know, so I had a bunch of emotional distress, and I grew up in a very dysfunctional home, and I didn't know that I was already like talking. And this dog would actually look at me, and I would, you know, talk to him, and the dog would go like, like he was listening. But, you know, I didn't know that I was physically, you know, like having this conversation. But by me talking to him, I wasn't carrying this load. And so the older I got, you know, I had already dumped a bunch of this emotional distress. So then as I got older and I started talking to this teacher, you know, and I started doing this theses in school, and I told these stories. I said, do you know what was happening? Do you really know what was happening? You know, so because, you know, because of those conversations that you had with that dog, you know, at this point, you know, that post-traumatic stress that could have accumulated from not, because men, I mean, let's all face it, men, you know, we're supposed to be macho and we're not supposed to talk to someone and we're not supposed to have problems and we're supposed to grow a pair, right? So inadvertently, I mean, it was you know, dogs. I mean, it might be corny to some people, but I really think they were put on this earth for that reason. You know, they really are guardians, really are angels. And you know, you spell the word dog backwards, but it spells God. You know, so you know,
wow.
think about that for a second.
That right there is a punchline, people. I didn't know that, and I appreciate you plugging that in. Think about that, people.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, there's certain. I'm not going to turn into a Bible thumper here, you know, but you know, if you know, I read the Bible once, you know, and you know, and there's some it's a great book to read as a book, you know, and you know, you can interpret it to your liking or to, you know, your meaning. But there is a section there where it says, you know, and God created, you know, the animals of the earth to use them to your liking and stuff, you know. So, and I think about it, you know, we got the guide dog for the blind, right? And we got, you know, we got scent dogs and stuff, and that's saying we
dogs
got
for epilepsy. They're dogs that tell people, yo, it's time for you to sit down because you're about to have a seizure.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And then so in my particular realm, you know, I the whole part about, like, you know, consistently wanting to learn more and more from the anatomy, the physiology, and the behavioralism. I mean, there were so many aspects of where to go with the dogs. And then, I mean, in the area that I was in, I was, you know, at this, I was in Fontana, California, and my dad was working at this ranch, you know, this farm's called Riverside Thoroughbred Farm in Riverside, California, and is one of the veterinarians there, you know, just happened to have some, you know, pit bull terriers. So that was, without even knowing, that was the breed that I was kind of, you know, with. And they were so atavistic and so genuine and so giving, and I would see, and it was just the amount of drive. I mean, I could throw a dog that stick 100 times and that dog would bring it back, and I would probably dislocate my shoulder before the dog would stop. Yeah, and that right away I realized that how driven they were, and you know, it was like, you know, what makes a Mother Teresa, what makes a Charles Manson, what makes a pit bull. It is their innate ability to consistently come out of their skin to satisfy their owners. And when I made that connection, I said, holy cow, you know, I just realized that this dog is, you know, and I'm not, you know, taking a stance on the pit bull terrier, but I just realized, like, how much this dog is willing to give for a person, and to the point where probably without even batting an eye, it'll give its life for you. And then
for sure,
I want to flip that question around, and it's like, how many of us are willing to give our lives for? I know I will. You know, I don't. There's no question. But and then that's when I realized, hey, you know what? There's a symbiotic relationship here going on, you know, between the both of us. And then from there, I mean, I never looked back. And my first American, dog that was given to me by Guillermo Alvarez Malo, who was happened to work with Dr. Vargas. And he is in Chula Vista, you know, and I gave my first dog. So that was back when I was about 1978 roughly. So I showed my first dog in 1978, and that was in San Diego. And then they used to have these shows down in La Misión del Sol. And I showed my first dog, and that's a registry maybe you guys are familiar with. It's called the ADBA. It's a whole different type of
old school.
Yeah, and it's a type of, where the type of stacking that's done now, it's very different. You know, we would actually stack the dog in kind of like a pitting form, but not to fight the dog, but to show the true, genuine drive of the dog, you know?
Yeah, the dog has a nature, people, and, you know, we've humanized them in a way, and we get mad when, you know, the dogs now kind of get tumultuous amongst each other. But here's the thing, you don't like everybody. As Ruben and I have talked before, you know, we don't always like everybody, so why is the dog supposed to like everybody?
Absolutely, you know, and I'll tell you another thing, you know, like if my dog doesn't like a person, I usually trust my dog more, you know?
Always,
you know?
And forever. I'll tell, hey, look, my dog ain't feeling you, it's time for you to go.
Yeah, exactly, you know,
because this dog's not going nowhere, and I can live without you, but I can't live without this dog, so something's got to change.
Most definitely, most definitely, and then from there, you know, I had the good fortune of being around really, I mean, like I said, it was like life had premeditated something for me in terms of, like, you know, you're going to be around dogs, like it or not. And then from there, you know, when I would go every summer to stay with my grandmother, you know, Dr. Vargas set up a clinic, you know, from Riverside Thoroughbred Farm, consulting there to having an actual clinic. So every summer I would go down there, and I would just come back where he would teach me how to sew, he would teach me how to vaccinate, he would teach me that, you know, something very basic. But I mean, you know, a kid who's 10, 11 years old, who's actually, like, you know, closing, like, he would do a surgery, I say he'd do an OVH, over hysterectomy, you know, if I use acronyms, you know, quote, you know, stop me so I can tell people what it means. You know?
Look, people. Anytime Ruben talks, just Google it, okay? Just fucking Google it. I'm telling you right now. I take notes when I'm on the phone with him and I record. Look, I literally started talks with Ruben because he fucking goes far left. I'm like, bro, I got to record this shit because I'm going to have to go back like I was in class and learn some shit because I think we've talked many times. I know about myosin actin down to what makes muscles move. He's invested highly in the dog side, but I could tell you almost everything about the human body. And the irony is now it's been easier to communicate because a lot of it correlates. And that's the thing, he just said, it actually is very similar. So I'm like, okay, I can make a lot more things that you said make sense recently just because I literally, since 2012, almost 10 years of my life, all I've done is solve problems ergonomically through education for humans specific. Down to nutrition, to stomach, small intestine absorption, every issue you could think of, I've basically learned somewhat about it.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised of how much the consistency of like, you know, and I mean, sorry if this offends anybody, you know, and you might have to put a little, you know, thing on the, yeah, you know, it's like, you know,
look, we're here to be offensive.
Sensitive material, you know, maybe do not open, but like, I mean, when I was doing research at Stanford, and then that's one of the reasons I had to pull out from Roche Pharmaceuticals, is that we were working on this particular study, and I won't mention the doctor's name out of respect. I have a lot of respect for the gentleman, but the particular medication that we were working on, it was for high blood pressure, and I was okay when I was working with porcine models. I was working with rabbits, and I was working even some primates, and but the moment that we started working with on that high blood pressure medication, it was beagles, and you know, it was we were doing anything, you know, we would have to give the medication, and then we would have to put the dog upside down to see how much time it took for the medication.
Dog
to rub.
Upside down?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was, and so
you'd have to hold the monkeys have to go upside down?
No, not the monkey. The monkeys actually, that was another study, and you know, we'll definitely save that for another time. But I mean, that was actually a study sponsored by Sony Entertainment, and but long story short, you know, it was like you know, like a pendulum wheel. It was, you know, it
made you very uncomfortable.
It made me very uncomfortable. These dogs weren't under pain or nothing, but then, you know, I'd have to document, and I'd have to see, and I'd have to run blood gases, and I'd have to see how long it took, so see how effective the medication was. Now that medication, I'll let you guys use your imagination. It's already on the market. People are using it. It's highly effective. So, you know, the Kantian, I'm going to quote Kantian, the philosopher, the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people. In this particular case, it's the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of canines, I guess. I don't know. You know, you guys make sense of it. But and you know, so that was you know, something that bothered me, and so I couldn't do it. You know, I went back to Stanford, and I started working with porcine models, and you know, it was working with minimally invasive procedures, insufflators, Da Vinci models, and stuff like that. And it was you know, Dr. Miriam Curet. You know, so we did you know, that was an OBGYN, and then I worked with Dr. Reese Osseo, and that was a cardiology. And then from there, you know, I worked with another department, and basically, you know, just anatomy, and some other departments were a little bit scary. Not scary, it's just creepy, you know. It's like.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I don't to cut you off, but what's the greatest question you ever saw or ever asked yourself about a dog?
The greatest, like, ask myself.
Look, from people like myself, the reason why I get so inventive is because I say, you know, I wonder how this works. And if I'm wondering, then I have to answer the why. And the why gives me a process on the how-to. The how-to gives me a plan on, hey, this might take 3 to 5 years. But I ask myself these questions about, you know, building belief system in kids. You know, going through the process of, I told my guys, we got to build a bloodline. That takes 5 years, and just to get maybe one dog we could start from, right? So there's questions that I tell people, always answer any question you have with an action. Because otherwise, you're just talking. I mean, you're talking to yourself. So if I ask myself a question, I have to solve the problem. And I know you're just like that. We got on the phone one day. I said, hey, I know you said you got 30 minutes. He goes, nah, we got to solve this problem now. Because he's got that obsessive, compulsive thing like myself. It's like, I can't sleep unless I can sleep if I solve this problem. But there's a question I'm sure, I'm wondering, if you asked yourself that drove you nuts in answering it, that even made you maybe even more obsessed about dogs.
Yeah. I mean, there's always. I mean, the day I stop asking those questions is the day that I'll probably stop, you know, messing around with dogs. And you know, it's called a passion, right? And people ask me, you know, when is this going to quit? Is it passion? I said, well, there are no signed contracts with passion. You know,
None.
And that's quote Lance Armstrong on that one. So there are no signed contracts with it, but it's that one question stems into like 50 questions.
Well, give us one of the better ones, and I feel the same way. I was watching a documentary or something on Discovery, and a guy was swimming across the ocean, and they showed his lungs and what they were capable of doing, and it fucked with me because I go, that's interesting. And they talked about how much time it took for him to condition. They had these 2 boats on the side of him to give him air, but he literally never got out of the water, and he swam the whole fucking ocean. And I said, well, if humans could do it, I wonder how far I could push myself. So then everything became 1,000 reps in the gym. 500 reps. At bare minimum, we do 1,000 every day. And, you continue to move forward in that regard. You say, that one question ran me down a rabbit hole so steep, I could answer anything about the human body, specifically the ergonomics, that may never be, some people still, put it like this. I worked with a guy who owns 90 hospitals. He does 1,000 surgeries a week. He said, how does some black kid from the ghetto figure out how to solve these problems? And I sit down with the smartest minds in the world to focus on smaller incisions. I said, because you guys are asking the wrong questions.
There you go.
And your question was more so, how do I make more money with the smaller incision? I'm thinking, how can I stop the whole thing? I don't want to live there. Because we know that one injury leads to another, and next thing you know, 2 bad hips turn into 2 bad knees, to 2 bad ankles, to a bad back, and there's $100 billion industries for a reason.
Yeah, and that's a great analogy, and I'll answer a question with another question. You want a better answer, you ask a better question, right?
There you go.
So to reiterate and just reframe that question and just give it to me straight, like you're asking me basically what's the one question that I'm asking myself.
Yeah.
About the dogs in general.
What question you just the one statement you just made is exactly how people like me and you go down a rabbit hole. We asked one question that changed how we see things forever, and the more we learn, the more we realize we didn't know.
The more you learn, the less you know.
Which kept driving us nuts because they go, hold on, that's how this works. Even we got Jamarcus here on the mic one time, and he gets sometimes lost in information and he lacks direction. So I literally one time, I remember coming out the room, I said, bro, do you even know what myosin and actin are? And he goes, no. I said, you're talking about muscle development. You don't even know what makes a muscle move. So, and I answered that 10 years ago just because that's where I started.
I think the question about the dog in general, because the biological factors, the strains of DNA, and the anatomy and the physiology, and the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, that whole anatomy of the back, from the phalanges to the tarsals to the metatarsals, it hasn't changed. What concerns me more, I'm being brutally honest right now, what concerns me more than the actual dogs are the humans.
Always.
That's the question. That's the question that haunts me. So the dog itself, I'm not worried about the dog at all whatsoever. If you look at, if you start tracing back, I'll take it back all the way to, I think, and we were talking about that hairless cat the other day. The dog, the Cholo Squintle, it's a Mexican hairless dog, and how the Aztec sprays this dog, and then people seeing that it radiates a certain amount of heat. Well,
that is warm, and Ruben sent me an article.
Yeah. And when you said that, that particular dog was revered by the Cholotl, the Aztec gods, and it's supposed to be a dog that once you pass away, it'll guide you through the spirit world. It's kind of like your guardian. But also, the modern day healers will give you a pup, and you're supposed to put it on your arthritic bones and your joints, and it brings a sort of healing. And we all know.
For those that don't know, what does heat do? It moves blood.
Exactly.
The more warm you get, the more blood flow. Guess what blood does? It helps with recovery, which is why when you tear a knee, there's no blood vessels in your cartilage, so it cannot replenish itself, if you would. It cannot fix itself. And when you tear a meniscus, ACL, patella tendon, anything white in an anatomy chart, it's done and has to be replaced. But when you can increase blood flow, which they even got the leg things now where it just pumps literally, they're like, and I'm not quoting anybody, but they say even increasing the circulatory, respiratory, parts of your body reduces risk of cancer. because people are also inactive right now. But that's, again, I live in the human body.
No,
I live there.
It's the same. It's same exact thing. You know, it's like, especially certain foods that you eat, right? You know, it sits in the colon, it putrefies, and what happens is petrification. You know, it starts to produce certain, you know, cells, and then what happens when you start, it has a cell that starts to mass produce itself, it turns into a certain type of cell that you don't really necessarily want. So honestly, the dog itself, I think the dog itself is going to be absolutely fine. It's the humans that are kind of, that I'm worried about, and therefore I think, you know, people like yourself, myself, Ron, Aaron, you know, Fred, people that are been here, that are, you know, I think it's and it's hard. It's really, because if you're not invested with that particular person, I think it's time that we not saying to take hold or take control or come at people in a condescending way, because part of it is culture. Part of it is they're, you know, they're breeding dogs a certain way because it is part of their identity, their culture, and they probably, you know, identify. But there are things that, you know, myself included, that, you know, I can bring something within that particular, you know, I feel a certain responsibility that, you know, okay, you know, people that know me know I do a lot of breedings, and if I see two dogs that are displaying two types of phenotypical displays that are going to more than likely bring in maybe a 60 to 70%, reverend when they actually mate, I think it's my responsibility to say, you know what, there's a good chance, you know, that these are going to display when it comes down the line. And maybe, you know, it's just right now an aesthetic factor, but this is how it's going to affect it. So honestly, I think the dog itself is fine. I think it's fine. And the other day I was on a King Corso meeting, and this gentleman was really concerned about, like, if we continuously do the artificial insemination, that the dog would eventually forget how to do it on its own. And I did.
I'm going to be called Hump Daddy.
I kind of internally laughed, and I said, you know what? We've been artificially collecting bulls. We've been artificially collecting horses. And last time I went to go visit a quarter horse farm, I saw a quarter horse breed with absolutely no problem. I mean, this guy was a stallion for a reason. And
it was hammer time.
It was hammer time, and the guy was hammering, no problem. So I mean, you know, the reason for doing these artificial inseminations is, you know, there's things in the wild that we can't see, you know. So, like, you know, there was a great documentary, and I think it was might have been A.J. Smith that documented it. There's a female and a male, and they do the chordal lock, lordosis, and people call it lordosis, when the two dogs lock up. And then the female was her first time, and she, you know, extrapolated from the male, and what happened, she ended up getting a vaginal prolapse. Now, out in the wild, what's going to happen, the chances of her, you know, having that, you know, that prolapse get reinstated, it's going to be really hard. And she eventually, you know, it got infected, she passed away. So us doing what we do, there's a reason why, you know, why we do what we do.
So it's almost a preventative measure, but it's good to still see the dog be a dog.
Exactly. So you know, so there is some control, there is some responsibility, there's some ethics, there's some morals, and a lot of people, you know, their ethics and their moral compass are pointing in another direction.
Unfortunately, right?
That's really my like I said, the question that you know begs to differ is, you know, like, what's my question? Within the dog, I think the dog's absolutely fine. I think the dog's fine. I mean, I just saw some great examples, and you know, there's different strokes for different folks. We have all kinds of breeds. I mean, if your thing is rescuing dogs, I mean, I did a lot of rescues for many, you know, from German Shepherds to pit bulls. I mean, if that's your thing, and you know, and it did its thing for me, you know, it's like, that's like, we just quoted Mother Teresa a second ago. That's, you know, when she did all these good things for people, she was also feeling a part of herself. And when I did all these rescues,
now mind you, look, I met this joker here because Sergio Valdez told me to contact you. And he said he doesn't trust the people per se, and trust me, I don't trust you fuckers either. Just to be clear. Which is why I told him, along with Fred and many others, we have to come together and do what? Better everybody. Ruben had done minimal lives.
I think yours was your first live. I had a good one.
First time, and mind you, I hadn't talked to him for 48 hours. I was like, yo, we got to go live. You know, I am pressure at its finest, but everything he's saying is why we connect. Many people I know for sure try to communicate, reach out, be a part of your circle, and just get involved with everything you bring in terms of value to the table, but their values are off. That's just the truth oftentimes. And that goes back to, again, my concern is like, damn, they're still fucking these dogs up. So if I don't trust the people, I have to build a network of individuals who value the opportunity a dog provides to better a person's life, and associate myself with people who could help raise that value and then influence others to be better, which is what we've done.
In the short amount of time, I mean, the questions and stuff, and before we proceed, I just wanted to take the time, and I want to thank Ron Ramos and for providing the hospitality and giving us this great platform in this great area. And so if you guys aren't following him, OG Ramos, Ron Ramos, aka Papa Pitt, thank you very much for giving us this awesome opportunity in this great area here to host. Trevor's doing this thing, but I mean, just awesome meeting of the minds per se. But yeah, no, most definitely, that in this short amount of time that we have spoken, and there's great things that are that are being baked. They're still not ready to be eaten.
Yeah, this is a step in the direction, though.
Exactly, and so there's a lot of, but there's right now it's kind of like a pilot test, and there's, I mean, this person's got this person's got that, and we can't all, but we can agree to disagree, but doesn't mean we can't be friends, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he says potato, I say potato. He says tomato, I say tomato. I mean, I breed standard dogs. Does it mean that I don't like color? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. People don't realize that at one point I have bred color. I have bred color in the past. And there's certain ways that I breed color. There's certain. I mean, if it's got a scattered pedigree, it's gonna be, but it's gonna be hard breeding for me to really coincide with. If it's hung papers, it's gonna be really hard for me to breed that dog. So I'm a man of science. No, just kidding. I put God and science together. But
well, God, in a sense, give him the wisdom to make something scientific, if you would, make it make sense.
There you go.
There's the thing. Science helps make things make sense so that people like himself and myself, can do the right thing, to say the least. So. Look, we about 28 minutes in. Ruben and I literally talk anywhere from an hour to 2 hours almost every day. So, and it's all good convo. So I don't want to tarry too long, because we're gonna give you some more.
Yeah, no problem, absolutely.
But if you had to give people out there something to be focused on, or some words of advice specific to, hey, getting into the breeding or just taking care of their fucking dog, what would you tell them to do?
Man, this is gonna sound like it's all. I think it already is a subliminal message, right? And we beat it to the ground, right? Don't find a dog, find a mentor. and the people that are out there that have been in the game, in the dog game, and been there, don't be afraid to step up and take someone under your wing, man. Please, I mean, because
you're exhausted though too. You were tired too.
I was tired too.
Yeah, he was. He was wore out. He's like, man, I don't want to be bothered with these people.
Yeah, I was there. But the thing is, like, and you have, there's, people that, like, for example, I've done a lot of mentoring in Jackie Fernando and Jackie Gomez is someone I can take credit for. My buddy Antonio Mendoza is another guy. I wouldn't say I necessarily mentored Rigo, but I've had a lot of great conversations. I think I'm somewhat responsible for his bits of triumph. Has had some people that want to remain anonymous. That's fine. I won't mention their names, but I think it's time for, like, because if the people that have that potential to go mentor someone, if they all shut down, guess what? Those people are not going to breed because they don't have a mentor. They're going to go find and do it themselves,
And fuck it up even more.
Yes, it's like the song says, who sang that song? Was it U2, With or Without You? They're going to do it, man. They're going to do it. And so it's like, when your kid's going to get ready to take that first swig of alcohol, I say, if you're going to drink, man, you might as well get fucked up at home.
Yeah.
It says, that way at least I can take care of you, make sure you don't take the car
I
off.
can manage the outcome.
Exactly. So if you're going to go breed, they say, wait, hey, you know what? Let me give you an objective eye here. You know what? Yeah. Hey, man, you might not want to breed that female. Why? Well, let's just start with this. He's got a little bit of a rubber jaw there, and he's got a little distichiasis, and look at that. See that eyelid right there? It's got cherry eye, and it's a little bit hereditary.
This guy knows too much, people. He knows too much, but I love it. It helps me make even better decisions, and trust me, like him, I'm extremely picky when it comes to dogs and choices and how we do things. I'm quick to rehome a dog, pet home a dog, because not every dog's going to map out. I don't care what you think,
And that's the other thing, perfection does not exist, but the pursuit within itself is beautiful. There are no perfect dogs, man, but if you can get something that is and it's something, and maybe it's not like a dog that's bred for the masses, but if it's something that you're okay with and you can go to sleep at night and have pride of ownership and say, this is my dog and I'm breeding for myself, you know, go for it. Don't be, you know, shut out all that, you know, all that massive like, oh no, don't breed that because if it's just because of aesthetics or color, or because it doesn't have this brand name, or because, you know, this person doesn't like that person. Zone all of that out. Zone it all out. And if it's something that you know what, I like the dog and I like the female, and you know, but you got to be brutally honest with yourself. You know, you got to be brutally honest with yourself, and if you can answer those questions and really look yourself in the mirror and answer those questions wholeheartedly, and go for it. Go for it, you know, because you're the one that's going to be paying for the medical bills. You're the one that's going to be picking up the crap. You're the one that's going to be doing the deworming. You're the one that's going to be doing the shots. You're the one that's going to be doing everything, you know. So you're the one that's going to be looking yourself in the eyes like, you know what? These are my puppies and I'm happy. You know, it's like when you go and get that car, you're going to be making those payments. And they say, you know what? Shoot, I'm already making the payment. I should have just got the freaking leather seats. You're already making the payment. Get the damn leather seats, you know?
And what that means is do not be cheap in your experience and you know, the opportunity to learn. Don't go buy a duck. And, you know, or what they call it, what's that, fucking a lemon? And, yeah. Don't go buy a fucking lemon and expect that fucking lemon to run like a fucking Cadillac. It's just not gonna happen.
Absolutely, you know, absolutely. And you know, with that being said, you know, that's that saying that yard by yard is hard, but inch by inch is a cinch. You know,
all the same.
Was it Andre?
Look, you fucking note these things, man.
I think this was Andre de Shields that said this, right? Slowly is the fastest. You know,
yeah.
Go at it, man. Take your time, you know. And I think the last bit of advice is, you know, the bottom of one mountain is the top. I'm sorry, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next one, and that's what's going to happen. Every single experience that you hit, you know, enjoy it. Even if it's painful, enjoy it, man. You know, even as a man, you know what? This dog's getting inverted nipples. How do I fix this? Don't call me. Don't call me. I'll make a video.
Sounds like me right now, Daddy. It sounds like I give advice and be like, but whatever you do not contact me. I don't have the kind of time on my hands for this shit.
I'll make a video. You guys click on YouTube. Give me the minutes. You know, I'll show
Look,
you
he's
guys
learning. He's fucking learning. Look,
you know,
I told this joker he cannot keep well, in my opinion, wasting time with people who, you know, just want to bleed him. You know, I do my research, so when we do talk, it's a meeting of the minds, not a consume. I'm not a vulture. A vulture is a lot of vultures out here who take something that somebody intelligent to him says something, and you take it left field, man.
Yeah.
Left field and go too far with it because you heard one fucking thing, and that's all you needed to hear to justify wrongdoing.
Exactly, you know, and so like, you know, she's got mastitis, you know, okay, well, you know, all those little moments, take note, right? Like, you know, even if you take a little tablet, write them down, because guess what? Once it's sitting down, you know, you're a white belt right now, you know, but you're eventually going to get to that yellow belt and blue belt. And as you're making those, you know, those leaps and bounds, and there's going to be someone, you know, and remember those emotions. Remember those emotions of that anxiety, you know, when you're like 3 a.m. and this female's not producing milk, and it's, my goodness, you know, and you think, because that puppy's not going to die, you think this puppy's gonna die of starvation, you know, and you're like, oh Lord, what am I gonna do? And you're out there making all these calls, and you know what? It was very simple. It was very simple.
Hey, don't go too far. You about to be up here in a second.
That's you know, it was very simple. You know, we supplemented the puppy. We gave the female 0.5 mLs of oxytocin, and the next day that milk was gushing like Old Faithful. That's all it was. Take those notes down, and then, you know, that next person down the road, hey, guess what? It's 5 mLs of ox, 0.5. No, don't do no 5 mLs. It's 0.5.
Look, man, quit giving them numbers, man.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Quit giving them fucking.
We're not here to diagnose or prescribe. But you know, every
know, they'll be like, oh, he said give him 5 mLs.
Don't do
the dogs, and they'll fuck around and give it to the puppy.
Don't do 5 mLs, guys. I'm sorry. Hey, this is all hypothetical. So what I'm saying here is good or bad, bad, every single experience is gonna define your identity, you know. So guess what? If everything's going hunky-dory and every single season you're getting perfect litters and everything's going fine, something's wrong. Something's wrong, because if somebody that's not going through pain and is not, you know, having those inverted nipples, mastitis, folliculitis, ringworm, you know, what's it called, you know, Demodex or whatever, then there's no way. There is no way
Come over here, get in the
to
shot.
progress. There's no way to breathe. So you have to be in pain. You have to take those, you know, those moments in order to learn, you know, and hopefully, you know, you can pass on that information to your next, you know, your next pupil, and then you know, and then hopefully, you know, go on to mentor someone, and then, you know, guess what, you're just a better human for this world, and we need really good humans, man.
Look, this is my guy, people. I harass him all the time, and vice versa. He calls me sometime real early in the morning.
This is are you alive?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the code word for, hey man, answer your fucking phone. But listen, guys, another great episode with Ruben, man. You got Papa Pitt back here. Come on over here, man. Jump in this.
This is the man of the hour. This is the man of the hour, guys.
I didn't want to speak it, but I got to tell you, man, this guy here, man, you guys want to, this is what I think about this guy right here.
Oh, Lord.
Albert Einstein.
This is the Albert Einstein of the dog world. I'm telling you right now, this dude right here knows his shit more than anybody I know, man. Well, there's another lady out there.
Oh, shit, he put your fucking face on it. That's Ruben's fucking face. That's not just an adventure of Albert Einstein.
This is Ruben Stein, brother, Ruben Stein. Hey, and I'm telling you right now, so don't underestimate them boys from Tijuana, man. But we're badass, man. I'm telling you right now, man.
Oh, man. He saw me choke out a guy. Oh, no.
I wish I was there,
Joe
man.
saw that. But we won't talk about that. No, but seriously, guys, no messing around. I really want to thank, you know, Ron Ramos and Justin Ramos and for the hospitality. And you know, and I mean, it feels like I'm in Disneyland right now with the, you know, with all these beautiful dogs. And when you guys see the footage that, you know, Trevor puts together and the pictures that Eric's been taking, and the consistency that's out here, I mean, you guys, without even understanding or looking up in the dictionary what the word coefficiency means, you just kind of have to look at his yard. And
there's the cool version of this mountain here, man.
Get the shit. Get the shit.
Oh my goodness!
I know. What is the fucking noise? Somebody got a bird or something? Hey, listen.
It's coming off the table.
Is it?
Yeah, it's coming off the table.
No, it's in your phone. It's been coming off your phone.
It's yours.
Really? Somebody got a fucking bird or something?
Oh, it's...
But you know, all seriousness, man. I'm telling you right now, man. I have a lot of admiration for Ruben. Like I said, when I have troubles and stuff like that, and like I'm having troubles now, and he's, you know, I see him as a cape. He's coming to help me out.
We got a game plan.
Yeah,
you know, so I mean, there's another lady I have to mention, you know, because there's not too
Bro,
many
you
people.
about to do your own, man.
Okay,
Don't
you
get
know,
too excited.
okay, man.
Look,
But I gotta give this guy props. He's a shit, man.
We appreciate it, man. Look, that's why we're here. We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
So we good.
No, man, what you doing?
Let me get out of the way, man. Let me finish off.
Well, okay.
Listen, people, if you like and learned anything, man, of course, you guys finally got to hear Ruben. You know, we've connected. Been talking to this guy for some time now. Aaron's the same way, man. Look, it's a meeting of the minds. I don't even know how to describe what happened here. It's one of those things where I was a little torn, if you would, that Aaron couldn't make it to nationals. He's someone who I had been speaking with probably longer than anybody here. And I was like, yo, bro, I got to get out there and fucking shoot for a tuna, man. We got to figure this out. I said, I think I'm going to come for a week in January. And then he pitched like, hey, it would be good if we could, you know, if you spend these days, let's get Papa Pitt out here on the camera too, man. And then he says, well, Ruben's his cousin. You might want to ask Ruben. I said, I don't know Papa Pitt, man. And then it just so happened, a week before nationals, Fred and I was talking for 2 or 3 hours, another person I connected with, and Fred goes, bro, you know what'd be good is if we was able to get some footage before nationals. And we were like, I was sitting in the garage whelping this fucking Frenchie litter, and I go, you know, let me check the flights real quick. Fucking $97 round trip to Cali and back? I said, I'll see you this day, my guy. And the following week, I went out and got some good footage of Dooley. And it just so happens that he, too, calls, you know, Ron, Uncle Ron. So you say, how do we get all these people together at once? It wasn't difficult because everybody wants to be here. That's the beauty. Everybody wanted to be here. They're like, hey, you going to Ron? I mean, Fred literally was like, hey, would you mind if I come? I was like, yo, Fred, I think we're going to go hang out with Ron and shoot some stuff. He's like, yo, can I come? I was like, fuck yeah. Everybody fucking come. Let's do it, man. So, you know, Ruben hit him up. Everybody started communicating. We're having a great time. There's nothing like being in the company of great company. As Ruben and most of them said, too, there's no ego here. There is an honor and love and aspiration for the dogs. So we get to enjoy and watch everybody take their time and the level of patience with the dog and just work with the dog. And just, you know, very few times in my life personally have I got around and just been around good men. You know, great men in the times we're living in. And right now, there's no better place for us to be in terms of energy. Ruben is my guy, one of my mentors, I would say. But we exchange information. Camera dog, and he knows more about photography, I think, than me. He probably won't admit it. He won't admit it, but
none of that. That's
But he was inspired. You went out and got the fucking Ronin, man.
Yeah.
He saw the videos and says, I gotta go get that fuck. He went and bought the Ronin within 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
Just after nationals.
You know, exactly. I mean, birds of a feather flock together, and I can tell people you can't not soar like an eagle if you hang around turkeys.
There you go.
You know, and I mean, some of them unfortunately are bald eagles. You know, but still, as long as you can, soar with an eagle, it's like, you gotta just, and that's another thing. Like, it's. You'll notice that, if it depends the company that you keep, and if you're keeping shitty company and it's hard to get rid of them because you feel guilty, well, guess what, you're gonna just get guilty by association. So just be careful, who you hang out with and stuff, and you'll notice the quickest way to get to whatever you want to either be in the dog world, the media
business,
world, whatever,
anything,
it's who you're associating with, and I mean, I can count with with this hand how many friends I have. Just kidding.
No, he's being dead serious. We won't talk about that. That's another episode.
That's another episode.
Everybody else can go fuck themselves. No, I'm just playing. But I'm dead ass.
But yeah, even in the dog world, I could probably say 2 or 3. But if I just left my my phone to everyone, everything, holy cow, I think I'd have over 200-300 people. But it's not even relevant to what we're talking about right now. But with that being said, I mean, I think you really left me thinking with the dog question.
Yeah, but that's the point, people. I don't have no script here. I'm just a good interviewer. I love being in this space right here. I thrive in the state of storytelling when you're in the company of good company and we're just having a conversation. James, again, shout out to Feltus, last night called me and he just said, I really enjoyed. Aaron, the same way. He said, man, I really enjoyed that. And it's like, bro, we talk for 3 hours normally. Normally, we got a 3-hour FaceTime, where we're talking. And the same thing with Ruben. We get on that phone, it's like, it's tomorrow. So you got to be like, we're just doing the same thing. We're just, again, documenting this moment and a few more moments where people can go and listen, live, and learn, all that you can. So, Ruben, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For being a part of the podcast. Look, solutions, not tips, people. You learn something. If you like, comment, share, we're going to be bringing some more information to you. Stay tuned, stay moving, and as always, take care of your fucking dog.
So it's safe to take it.
Yeah. Let's go next.
This switches battery.